You about to get beat up. I made that black and blue phone from upstairs, please. And thank you.
like me. The vampire ain't gonna wanna be around me in my house. That's cool. Do yourself a favor. Huh. Go turn up, turn up, turn up. Round love is a discipline and a posture of the heart. Not a king or a trend though. Into the start though. No Donkey Kong, but it's 10 no heart. You thought my life was a game. You put my life to a shame. Y'all run the back.
Behind your
Turn up, turn up, turn up. Turn up, turn up, turn up. Round, you thinking that you gonna eat it and play with it, you have no place at. You didn't stick in the mud with me and get dirty though and build up. Nah, you walked away, you laughed at us, you mocked us, you scorned us too. All of you people in the name of Jesus, shame on you. Go turn up, go turn up, go turn up. Round, go turn up, go turn up, go turn up. Round, go turn up, go turn up, go turn up. Round, we turn up, we turn up, we turn up. Sound, we turn up, we turn up, we turn up. Sound, we turn up, we turn up, we turn up. Sound, go turn up, go turn up, go turn up. Round, go turn up, go turn up, go turn up. Round. I'm not you. I will never be you. I don't follow your same doctrine. I don't follow your same ways. I'm not sinking in that same sound of that sand, that lame loneliness, that greedy idolatry, that pride, the wicked lies. You're still searching for a Messiah outside of you. You don't even know who the virgin is, no virgin Israel. That's Sharia suffering. The money they got for the prices. The Messiah you're looking for is you as a whole house. But you're too wise to know the true fire of home. Fuck you, Satan. Shut your goddamn mouth. Piece of trash. All the Illuminati eating out them babies and stuff. The suckers eat hot dogs. All the emails and messages. Fuck that shit, man. What about we rule the world? What about we praise God? I overstand in my heart. The word of Yahweh overstands. I overstand in my house. I walk in shalom peace. Yeah, but I am very, very fervent with folks that have taught us indoctrinations of things that we are not. In order to enslave our hearts and our minds. And y'all so like I was. So now that the Gotta get my flow. Yes, now, yes, now. It's Halloween after all. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah, all night. Hallelujah. Prophesying of the time. Breaking chances every love. Prophesying every lie. Separate and free love. My neck was meant to get high. Tribals, we live young and so now. Hallelujah. Terrified and release institutions, give them head contusions, but they still cause the confusion. Release death and education, decisions they claim the truth, but only one that's proven. Genocide, step aside. Break down on my enemies like the scramble for Africa. Tear down on my enemies, they left a trail of tears in us. Black woman, no shed boldly, zombies of Rwanda. California, the slave man, they on it, and they coming for you. Blood prophet. Dancing under them two weapons, y'all bring the rain, and smack the thunder. Back. Nigga, when it flows. Meanwhile, we sit back and let the y'all flow. No, maybe like a working of a solo, you know. So, that makes it good enough. Huh. Oh, tell them better watch out, bro. You better look up. Oh no, strings attached, just a yo-yo. Bring it back, huh? Bring it to the door, bro. Nice one, go, maybe do jitsu. I don't know, come on. We can go for what it's cool. Either way, they better bring it like some fish. Hallelujah to the king, huh? When I rise up and dress, better address my name when you walk by. Hallelujah. The Messiah, great hair and confidence. Everything's a dream. All night, all night. That's the power of Almighty God, baby. My house is one home. Absolutely. Can you drop on the thing up? That's the dawn. Sun up, it goes flowing. Swimming home. In sight to the great men in the hood. Better watch the traffic, you can go slow. You make manifest and it's no slogan. My ancestors been crying out, we been crying out with them. I seen all the blood that's been shed and the drift that was washed the ocean. I can feel the beat and I pray, shot y'all manipulate the motions. Like you with that you lazy niggas and you broke. You dumb bitter bitches don't see in the riches. Listen, y'all but intuition. Incentivized, desensitized, so we keep it ties from the who is mine to the function.
Daluaba, yeah, yeah, Daluaba.
My neck romantic and broken around. Like crazy hands all now. We get another time. Never we get a promise, not another time. Everything's free to run. How many? Right? Hold on, gotta get my smoke. Every now and then you gotta have a little power up stuff. Prophesying of the everything is great now. I never meant it can be alive. God don't do this and we dance on now. They gon' holy Halloween at the pride. Hallelujah, this is all on mine. All day, all day, all night we sing, 'cause I don't win it all night. You hear them prophesying of the time. Break them chains and sever love. You hear them prophesying every line. Sever chains and pray them on.
Daluaba, yeah, 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 Daluaba.
All illusions, terror, false illusions. From these institutions, give them head contusions, but they still cause the confusion. Many deaths that they can't head decisions, they claim the truth, but only one that's proven. Genocide. Got dance on now.
Daluaba. Yeah, yeah.
Terror for the institution. Aside, step aside. Break down on my enemies like a scramble for Africa. Tear down on my enemies, live that the trail of tears in us. Black woman, no Chad Boseman, zombies of Rwanda. California with their clay man, they on it, and they coming for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Blood prophet, blood prophet, my neck, bro, my neck.
That boy need to be edited, boy. Terror for the from these institutions, give them head contusions if they still causing confusion. In these dead religions, big head decisions, they claiming truth, but only one thing's proven. Genocide, step aside. Break down on my enemies like a scramble for Africa. Tear down on my enemies, live that the trail of tears in us. Black Puma, no Chad Boseman, zombies of Rwanda. California with their clay man, they on it, and they coming for you. A prophet. by profit. That's another them two weapons, y'all bring the rain and smack the thunder. Close. Meanwhile, we sit back and let the y'all just flow. I don't know, maybe like a working on a solo in the book. It's a book. For sure. And make you better know. Huh.
For five these hearings to place the United States under a world government were held in 1950. 6-7 narrator. Okay. It began back in 1958 actually. These hearings began to take place in the 9 United States, and the calls for a world government were 10 actually held in 1950. 11 hears a resolution in Congress that was 12 considered and called for testimony.
Tell them better watch out, bro. You better look up. Oh no. Strings attached, let's say yo yo. Bring it back, huh? Bring it to the dojo. Taekwondo, maybe jiu-jitsu. I don't know, kung fu. You can do it like, I don't know, do you? Go for what it's for. Either way, they better bring it like some questions. Hallelujah to the king, huh? When I rise up and dress you, huh? Better address my name when you walk by. Hallelujah. That's the power of Almighty God, baby. Me, a house is one home. Up on the hill, up, hallelujah. That's the dawn. Sun up, it goes flowing, no gray street. Wonder. Spirit, fucking bones, hidden smelling bones. Hidden colors, hidden plain sight. Turn the gray men in the hood at night. Better watch the traffic, you can do it slow. Make men the desert, if you know. That's the dawn. It goes flowing, no gray street. Keep the spirit, making fucking bones, making symbols, making that smelling bones. Hidden colors, hidden plain sight. Turn the gray men in the hood at night. Better watch the traffic, you can go slow. Make men the desert, if you know slow. My ancestors been crying out, we been crying out with them. I seen all the blood that we shed and the drip that would wash the oceans. I can feel the big king, I praise y'all, y'all manipulate emotions. You weak-minded and control freaks, that's you lazy niggas and you boasting. You dumb, bitter bitches don't see any riches, this me out but intuition. Incentivized, desensitized, so many people ties with the who it's mine to be functioning position. Yeah. shed, and the drip that would wash the oceans. I can feel the big not praise y'all, y'all manipulate the motions. That you lazy niggas and who boasted. These dumb bitter bitches don't see any bitches disregard but intuition. Incentivized, desensitized, only keeping ties with the who is mine, keeping the functioning consistent.
Daluaba, yeah, yeah, yeah. Daluaba, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, Daluaba, yeah, yeah, yeah. Daluaba, yeah, Daluaba, yeah, yeah, Daluaba, yeah, yeah, Daluaba. Daluaba, yeah, yeah, Daluaba, yeah, Daluaba, yeah, yeah, Daluaba, yeah, yeah. Get it, get it.
Testimony. And it says, to 13 provide a true world government through the adoption of 14 a world government constitution. 1516 to provide a true world government through adoption of a world government constitution. 1718 narrator, it was a clear intent to place the 19 United States directly under the United Nations and to 20 scrap our constitution. 21 the universal peace is the prerequisite for 22 the pursuit of that goal. And from the competitive 23 anarchy of national states that, therefore, the age of 24 nations must end, and the era of humanity must begin. 25. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 8. 1. Therefore, the age of nations must end, and the era of humanity begin. 2-3 narrator, you'll find there's a constant call for the merging of all humanity. Here's a Resolution 5 adopted in the United Nations. This is what it says: 6 regulation, limitation, and balanced reduction of all 7 armed forces and all armaments. 8-9 regulation, limitation, and balanced reduction of all armed forces and all armaments. 10-11 narrator, the all armaments means your 12 weapons that you have in your closet for your own 13 defense. It includes handguns and rifles and all kinds 14 of things. 15 here's your blueprint for world peace, which 16 was issued also in 1961, concurrently as this move 17 towards putting us under the United Nations. 18 you'll find that as the United States and 19 Russian military are to be reduced, the UN is 20 consistently brought up to a higher and higher position. 21 the only thing we are left with our internal security. 22 forces. 23 under the freedom from war. This is a packet 24 issued by the federal government to go along with 2587 to 297. This can only be achieved, the merging and Iron Mountain Video Presentation 9. 1 disarmament, through the progressive strengthening of 2 international institutions under the United Nations, and 3 by creating a United Nations Peace Force. 4-5 peace can only be achieved, progressive strengthening of international institutions under the 6 United Nations. 7-8 narrator, C, they want to progressively 9 strengthen the international institutions, all of which 10 come under the United Nations. 11 we are to lose our sovereignty. This can only 12 be achieved through the progressive strengthening. 13-14 by creating a United Nations peace, police, force to enforce the peace. 15-16
You guys are fucking joking, right?
16 narrator, by creating a United Nations peace, 17 which really means police, force to enforce the peace. 18 This is what Daniel said. 19 And by peace the Antichrist shall destroy 20 many. He shall also stand up against.
This is a Popple Bull, Dumb Diverses, Project Lucid. This is MK Ultra. This is all that shit combined. All these agendas are those so-called false prophecies. Meaning the so-called false, the so-called that, but they're false. Interesting how they said the age of man. I thought we was in that. Was we not? If it wasn't, what was we in? Like, somebody let us know something. But anyway.
Against the prince of 21 princes, but he shall be broken without hand. 22 And it was given unto him to make war with 23 the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given 24 him over.
Now, this is talking about all the colonizations and stuff like that, the dumb diversities, the doctrine of discovery, inquisitions, acquisitions, crusades, conquests, Roman, Islamic, so on and so forth. That thing that they got going on over there nowadays, you know what I'm saying, with the whole thing with Hamas and shit like that, that's a stimulus trigger. I'm warning you Muslims out there, those of you who don't know, that's a trigger for you, because the goal is to use you all and y'all religion and your God as a way to trigger worldwide jihad, which is a manipulated thing. So that whole shit they got going on over there is all a whole ass distraction. More protests will come from that, and more unrest. So that's going to spark some shit worldwide. It's because, the stimulus check this time is the Muslim community. And of course, that they're never going to get the brown flesh people thing out of that narrative. So this time, like I said, there's going to be more riots and shit like that. There's already fucking protests and shit going on, but it's going to get worse. Because, they're already seeing it. Talk jihad and shit like that. The mainstream medias and shit like that. Like, they know what they're doing. These are false prophecies to fulfill false narrations and narratives and agendas to bring about a false return of the Jesuit order. That's Jesus. That's the one that everybody's looking for their motif, right? Everybody got their prophecies, but all that shit is bullshit, and it's proven bullshit. You look at the roots of how these things began, how they started, and all this type of stuff. The behind all that. So, they know what they're doing. It's a manipulation, just like that. The alien stuff. Them coming up from underneath us. The underground bases, the domes, and under the water bases. That was the whole point of, or part of the symbology of Black Panther 2, I think it is. With the invasion of the Spanish. That's something that has already been done. So prophecies are things that have already been done in the use of predictive programming. This is where you got all this other shit. You feel me? So, yeah, that's what that's about. So don't be deceived. Blue beam, do weapon systems, all that shit is going on. HARP, DARPA, the holographic, illusions and delusions that they're going to be using as sorceress, enchanting tricks and shit like that to project a return of one who is not anointed. Maybe by their gods, which are fucking trash, but They're not the Messiah. Most of them people that talk about, the promises of the Most High, they'll never see them. They're not going to a heaven. They're not going to a hell, because those are entities. Those are not destinations. So yeah. So it's all a bunch of things to pass, in some ways, false judgments, and to literally fulfill their ideal of what they call the Great Reset is mass extermination. And that's what this shit is warping into, because while everybody distracted over there in 1948 bullshit, in all its essence, most people not looking at what's going on within their own communities, you know what I'm saying? Like all the fucking millions of people that's been coming over here. And then most of those so-called prophecies are attached to Al-Qaeda. So America, by mirror reflection in relating connections to the mind, in these spiritual oaths or covenants made with demons and Satans, and death, that is to be answered for. And that's the all these agendas, because when you make a covenant with death, there's a price that comes with that. And the sacrifice requires blood. And they're requiring more blood. These are destroyers. These are not human beings or mankind. You know what I'm saying? You have to know what you're talking about. You got to know what you're dealing with. The Bible, the two bulls, the two papal bulls, you know what I'm saying, is a coded play, riddled with symbolism, but they preach contrary to that. If man say here, don't care, the Christ is there, don't do that, you know what I'm saying? Because they know that they're not the motherfucking anointed people. They're not the chosen people. They don't have an inheritance because they've stolen and pillaged and robbed their own people. You know what I'm saying? And our people and other people. All Arabs who are guilty of that are all Muslim. All of Islam who is guilty of that. Not all of you are guilty of that. But if you don't renounce them oaths to that demon God, that torment will come to you. Those pains, that carnage, as they say, war, death will come to you. You know what I'm saying? Same with the Christians. It's no different. Because those things, those people, those religions have worked together to sell, trade, barter, murder, human traffic, you know what I'm saying? All that shit, this whole system, they've been working together doing that. Enough of this bullshit talking about, white people, all this. Well, there's a lot of evil, wicked white motherfuckers. Or pale, non-melanated people. Just like there's many more wicked, brown-fleshed people. You know what I'm saying? Wickedness is not prejudice to color. It's all a mind thing. It's all a choice. You know what I'm saying? And these religions of slavery and its bondage, and it's used as a political vehicle for war, propaganda, targeted individuals, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And weaponizing damn near everything through desensitization and manipulations and confusion and control. That shows you right there. These are weak-minded thinkers. You have to control everything and everybody in order for you to really convince yourself and deceive yourself that deep to think that you have power, authority, and dominion and rulership over things you don't have. It's an illusion. You know what I'm saying? They don't have real authority. They don't have real power. You hurting people and destroying people doesn't make you strong. You're fucking weak as hell. All them motherfuckers, all the wicked Illuminati is weak. They're all weak-minded creatures. They have no true power. They steal, they ravage, they pillage, they rape, they burn, they destroy, they do cannibalism and shit like that. You got to think about this. You got a lot of people talking about, keeping the commandments, this, that, and the third, all that type of stuff. But it's like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to eat no dead carcasses. You're not supposed to get things. But that shit all in the stores. Chicken, fish. How long do you think that stuff stayed dead? Freezers and warehouses and shit, and on trains and trucks and fucking carts and shit like that, and storage containers, like before you got to it, or before it got to your store. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care what your religion is, you can't argue talking about keeping commandments, because you can't eat that unless you don't eat meat. You feel me? So I be looking at a lot of Hebrews and Christian Hebrews and all this other type of stuff that they got going on. Islam and other shit. Zoroastrianism and the bullshit that they got going on down there. And I'm like, dog, how you gonna sit there and try to preach somebody and tell somebody they can't do this, but y'all motherfuckers still eating dead carcasses that's pumped with all kinds of hormones and fucked up shit. Graphene oxide and all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? That most of y'all don't even know nothing about. But anyway.
Over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. 25 And all that dwell upon the earth shall. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 10. 1. Worship him, whose names are not written in the book of two life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the three world. 4. All right. Back to the government report. 5. The disbanding of all national armed forces and the 6. Prohibition of their re-establishment in any form. 7. Whatsoever, other than those required to preserve 8. Internal order and for contributions to a United Nations. 9. Peace force. 10. They are bringing the UN up to a point where 11. No state would have the military power to challenge the 12. Progressively strengthened U.S. Peace Force. And all 13. The international disputes would be settled according to 14. The agreed principles of international conduct. That's 15. Exactly what the Bible says. 16. It was given unto him to make war with the 17 saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him. 18. Over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. 19. No one can make war with this final world. 20. Entity. And if you will study your scriptures, you will. 21. Find that the United Nations fulfills every parameter. 22. Listed for the Antichrist system. 23. And Public Law 87 to 297 has been updated. There 24 are numerous updates. If you go search them out, Public 25 Law 101216, for example, has been updated. Here's Iron Mountain Video Presentation 11. 1. Another one. 2. I have today signed H.R. 1495, the Arms 3 Control and Disarmament Amends Act of 1989. It 4. Authorizes the fiscal appropriations to get this 5 underway. 6. Now, the problem with it is the Bill of Rights 7 Amendment 2, the right to bear arms, a well-regulated 8. Militia being necessary for the security of a free 9. State, the right of the people to keep and bear arms 10 shall not be infringed. 11. In reality, you cannot infringe that right in 12 any way, method, or manner. The only way a people can 13 remain free is to hold in their power the weapons 14 necessary to secure their free state. 15. This amendment deals with the international 16 security of the United States from its own government. 17. In other words, this amendment was to secure the 18 people's freedom from their own government, from a 19 internal government takeover. 20. This right is not there so that you can go. 21. Hunting or for the other excuses made. It is there too. 22. Prevent the government of the United States from 23 becoming a dictatorship by treason. In other words, by 24 betrayal of the Constitution of the United States. 25. Now, in order to merge the United States into Iron Mountain Video Presentation 12. 1. The United Nations requires a total betrayal of the 2 Constitution which guarantees you a free state through 3. The right to bear arms. 4. 5. The United Nations is a communist, illuminist, Masonic world dictatorship with no freedoms. 6. Hence they must get the guns to eliminate our free state/nation. 7. 8. Narrator, do you see the connection? The Nine United Nations is a communist, illuminist,
Now, remember the red flag gun bills and shit like that? And they use these school shootings that were planned, obviously, because you can see this, to do that. Mind you, gun control came into play as them to find a way to stop people from fighting back. And mind you, this is all about fraternities and Freemasons who took their shit from other people. You know what I'm saying? That's not they pillaged lands. That's not their lands, and blah blah blah, and abiding on land that's not their land. That's why they going through what they're going through in their communities of their own people. Drug overdose, suicide, people fucking stuck on pharmaceuticals and shit. You know what I'm saying? Murder, rape, incest, and that's for all those people who have not walked away from and abandoned those ways of thinking and those traditions of their tribes and nations and other peoples and stuff like that, and renounce and denounce them covenants, them oaths. I don't care who you are. The truth is, if you're a Christian or you're a Muslim, you swore allegiance to Satan's. Specific Satans, Azazel, Lucifer, Asmodeus, Inanna, or that's what they call Allah, because that was an Igbo deity. And part of that transition of that, you know what I'm saying, is between Nigeria and the Arab nations. First, in your bubble time, for all you so-called Arabs out there that look European, is because you have European DNA as your lineage. You are a haplogroup or subspecies, another form of hybrid. So yeah. It's not just, as we say, white people. Brown flesh hybrid people too. This was the whole this was the whole purpose of the works behind the Third, Second, First Reich. Those are Germans, Russian, Roman, blah blah blah, oppression, blah blah blah. You know, peoples, Goths, Ostrogoths, fuck, so many of them. But anyway, yeah, you're classified as white people, Caucasian, a Caucasoid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I got a bone to pick with my Hebrew community, so to speak, or my Igbo and all the other tribes. There's a Jerusalem in Utah. A place named that, and Eden, I think. And there's one in Namibia. I think it's southwest or southeast. And then there's one that they made up for the 1948 weirdos, which those are Germans, mostly. Italians. I mean, shit like that. So, after we done did all this arguing about whose book is right, where do we go with that? As we know thus far, there are 3 different Jerusalems. So, um, yeah.
Masonic World 10 dictatorship, and there are no freedoms, hence they have 11 to get the guns to eliminate the free state/nation 12 guarantee in our Constitution. 13 The Iron Mountain Report then is a report in 14 reality on how to circumvent the Constitution of the 15 United States. And in reality, it's a document of 16 treason of how the rich men of the earth are actually 17 going to divert the attentions of the people away so 18 they can get this done. 19 The guidelines given by the government for the 20 Iron Mountain Report, 21 employment, 20.
My thing about that too is they're not rich. They've stolen what they have. That's not their possession. Go take your shit back. Don't ask them for permission to buy your land. Why are you still buying back your land? Take your land back. The fuck you talking about? When they want your shit, they make war. And they force you to give it to them. No longer. Take your shit back. The fuck? How you gonna be opposed to what they do and still asking them for permission for what's yours?
22.1 Military-style objectivity. 2. Avoidance of value assumptions. 23.3 Inclusion of all relevant data. 24 Narrator, and this is a very important part 25 of this report, is the avoidance of all value. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 13. 1. Assumptions. This is what makes it so absolutely cold too and inhuman. It is to be amoral as a computer is 3 amoral. It deals in factual data. There is not any for mercy. There is not any compassion. It doesn't deal in 5 right or wrong or what is good or evil. 6. It is a report on the handling of men, women, 7 children and babies on the basis of herd or animal 8 management without regard to any moral considerations 9 whatsoever. 10. It reduces people to objects. It reduces all 11 humans to non-entities with no rights of 12 self-determination, with no rights granted by the 13 Creator, and with absolute...
There's your sister Cubase 1666. And your straw man illusion.
Absolutely no rights under a 14 Constitution. The Constitution has been effectively 15 cancelled by Iron Mountain. 16 now, again, you'll find these resolutions 17 coming up in Congress all the time that want to 18 strengthen the United Nations to establish in 19 International Criminal Court, SJ 32. 20 These are bills that are before the Congress 21 and the Senate, the implementation of Agenda 21 and 22 other agreements, which is all United Nations. Reagan 23 called for the World Army. Clinton has approved a UN 24 army. You're seeing it on TV all the time.
Hold up, pause. Now everybody knows Clinton is a pedophile. That whole family. They help run human trafficking, the drug trades, or the poisoning enchantment industry, the pharmakia bullshit. And these are all philanthropists who live all about the philanthropy. But the Clintons eating little boys and girls and getting off to them, along with Epstein and all them other motherfuckers they talk about. Newsflash to the underground. Zazu. You know that there's Muslims that do the human trafficking still too. All these so-called well-known Muslim leaders are in on the same shit. They're all enemies to the Most High and us. That's why they voted shit in a book for us. Give you Islam or give you Christianity by forced conversions or death. And if you convert, now you get to pay taxes to either the Muslim or the Christian. Or whoever the fuck ever for that matter. So, now, the Most High is true and real. Just not the way everybody else says it was. A bit more complex and deeper than that. But I'm not here like fucking just shunning people. There's good Muslim people and Christian people. But those traditions of religion and the worldviews that comes with those shit has kept people at it. So when you examine evidences like this that's being read to us, you see the connections that relate. Everybody, all of us, in some way, or did. Because if you're Muslim, you're still deceived. Whether you think it know it or not, you are. And the spirit of pride is heavy on that kind of thing. That's a mindset, a thinking character of the fallen ones that you have adopted and committed an oath with and don't even know what you're really doing. Because somebody told you that's what that family was, so that's what you got to be too. Or else. Or else what, motherfucker? Or else what? Do you want to bang? We can bang. So, these power and control issues by these motherfuckers and the people who are begging to continue a greater addiction to their oppressors, to oppress them more. You vote? The fuck you voting for? You think that's gonna change anything they do? They don't view you as anything living. Dead man, straw man. John Doe, Gene Doe, what up, Doe? Hold up the door, motherfuckers. Surprise, motherfucker. So, yeah. Anyway.
25. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 14. 1 Part 1, War is Required, The Glue of Nations. 2-3 Narrator, War is Required, The Glue of the Four Nations, according to the Iron Mountain Report. Is war 5 the scourge of the nations? 6. It is said that war is merely an extension of 7 diplomacy by other means. It is also said that war is 8 necessary waste. 9. But what is war and why do peoples of the 10 earth continuously fight and die? Why do millions of 11 human families have a member or members that they have 12 lost to this thing called war? What is the reality 13 behind war? Does man have to fight wars, or can he 14 develop a system of peace? And would the development of 15 peace be worse than war itself? 16. The Bible gives us some answers. The rest can 17 be supplied by simple logic and deduction. 18. James tells us that, from whence come wars 19 and fightings among you, come they not hence even of 20 your lust that war on your members. 21. He lust and have not. He kill and desire to. 22. Have, and he cannot obtain. He fight in war, yet he 23 have not because you asked not. 24. He ask and receive not because you ask amiss. 25. That you may consume it upon your lust. The root of war. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 15. 1. Then is lust, and lust is want. And want is greed. And 2. The root of greed is a self-centered heart, and 3. Unregenerate human heart.
No self-control concerning your desires. And the desire to have them fulfilled is where greed comes from. Because when one's own desire is uncontrolled, or what's a good example? It's like a child seeking to get a bag of cookies that they want. You told them no like 15 times, and they ain't heard none of that. They heard it, but they weren't listening. So they finally went and got the bag. When they got the bag, though, they was in over their head. You feel me? They ate all the cookies and ended up getting a bellyache. You know why? Because of uncontrollable desire to have them cookies. You was willing to do anything that you wanted to or could to get them, and when you got them, you wasn't prepared for the effects that come from what you did. You dig?
Heart. For this is the key we need to explain war. And 5. The Bible gives us many clues to why warfare is, and 6. That in reality it can never be stopped. 7. The root of the problem lies with the human 8 heart. And the Bible says that the human heart is so 9 desperately wicked that none can know it. 10. Jeremiah says that the heart is deceitful 11 above all things, who can know it. 12. Paul says in Romans, their carnal mind is 13 enmity against God, for it is not subject. 14. God neither indeed can be. 15. Jesus was very emphatic that, out of the 16 heart of man put forth all kinds of evil. The problem 17 with mankind.
Meaning is, let me go back over what she just said and shit like that real quick. And the Bible says that the human heart is so desperately wicked that none can know it. And that's only for those whose hearts is like that. Jeremiah says that the heart is deceitful above all things, who can know it. And again, this goes through one's own desires, through learned behavior, what they're taught as a child and learn to grow up to do. Unchecked, you get shit like this. Imaginations of the heart and the weapons and all that shit that goes with that and blah, 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 blah. And that's where the manipulation and all that self-centered shit, because it's a lack of self-control. So yeah, anyway.
13 behind war? Does man have to fight wars, or can he 14 develop a system of peace? And would the development of 15 peace be worse than war itself? 16 The Bible gives us some answers. The rest can 17 be supplied by simple logic and deduction. 18 James tells us that, from whence come wars 19 and fightings among you, come they not hence even of 20 your lust that war on your members. 21 He lust and have not. He kill and desire to 22 have, and he cannot obtain. He fight in war, yet he 23 have not because you asked not. 24 He ask and receive not because you ask amiss. 25 That you may consume it upon your lust. The root of war.
Now that part right there, again, you're dealing with two different gods, two different creatures. Christianity is the the Antichrist. There's no real Messiah in there. All lie. Okay, you all been deceived. We all were deceived. And then just go download this. Because it's called the Iron Mountain Report. Go to this channel right here and just observe. You know, take everything with a grain of salt. Compare and contrast your notes. I don't know why this made me think about the Trail of Tears real quick, but I'm not sold on this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not for sale anyway, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just observing. I find interest 3 different locations thus far. And I'm pretty sure at some point there might be more. Which, you know, the deception goes obviously, because they might, okay, then where the fuck is it for real? Or is it just us as a people and not really a location, a place on the earth? You know. They talking about New Jerusalem coming down. From where? From who? Now, when people be like, find out that they messiahs, their motifs is not real, but men who bleed, or hybrids or whatever, who bleed, then you're gonna be like, oh, well, shit. So now what? The fuck, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, people say what they, you know, it is what it is. I don't really give a fuck what people got to think, because it's like, you know, like, the evidence is out here. Never would I ever have thought, though, there was going to be, like, 3 different so-called Jerusalem places. You know, technically 4, because the New Jerusalem coming down, which is a lie. If it's coming down, how are you going to rebuild on the earth? No, I said that wrong. If people are going to go up, why are you rebuilding on the earth? How can you build the waste places if you're not fucking here? Gaza and Hamas and all that shit. That's a waste place. How you going to rebuild if you're not here? How you going to inherit something that you're not going to be here for? You feel me? This right here, that's the Jesuit order. That's who Jesus is. That's y'all slavery. That's the white supremacy. All this because people wanted to try to make something and force something be something that it's not. The Indians and people over there in Al-Qaeda have been in communication and trade and stuff like that for since they was doing it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the intermixing of the tribes and this, that, and the third too, you know, when you study heritage and inheritance and all that type of stuff and your ancestors, you really got to think about some stuff. Like, you got white people talking about Jerusalem I'm going to look at this. I'm just curious. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about some things. You know what I'm saying? If you did the Trail of Tears, Indian Removal Act, and all this type of stuff, and you telling people, like, you know, their people is from another land, you're either telling the truth or you're lying. And these people, like, you bickering and fighting over shit like you don't even fucking know what the fuck this shit really is. You're part of the shit. That's dangerous. So it proves the Mormons isn't on this shit. And if you with these weirdos, you in a bad covenant. You in a very dangerous position for the Most High to really release his wrath. So the Palestinians and shit, well, they want their fucking land back. And them motherfuckers don't want to give them their land back. That's why everybody against them the way that they do. Want to give them their land back. Like, even on this shit, like, you still looking for Jesus in the Yeshua that's not coming, bro. Yeshua was Joshua, or Yahusha, whatever. That was Joshua. You know what I'm saying? Go to Joshua 15 and read that story. Don't trust everything that's written. It has to be proven. There's evidence that come with that. And the evidence will be undeniable, overwhelming. I didn't say I'm imperfectly got it together. I'm saying this is one, they say they're supposed to be Jerusalem. You saying Utah. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, let the missionaries do what? You know what I'm saying? Fuck them. I think that there is a true chosen people, because what's the point of going through all this shit if it was true? These motherfuckers is not chosen. This is the enemy. Off rip. You know what I'm saying? Like, just going in a conversation of Hebrews and Jews and a backdrop of connection of time just connected, that's something else. So they're gonna give off all these illusions, holograms, holographic shit, to make it look like y'all so-called gods or saviors is coming back for y'all motifs and all that shit. And that's a lie. Motherfucking planes and shit start dropping out. You know what I'm saying? Out of flight and all that shit because motherfuckers hitting EMPs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers gonna think like, oh, well, goddamn, you know, releasing stuff that's underground, all the tests and um, um, hybrids and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? All this shit is a distraction, man. You got clones running the world, and that's of the system. Clones and drones and transhumans. You know what I'm saying? That's a new one. Fuck, man. I don't think that's his real body. Clearly. Funny how I got that fish symbol on it. It reminded me of Apocalypse. When Apocalypse went in that the little chamber thing to get his powers back and stuff like that in all the cartoons. Mutant. It's like, you know, all this shit, man. Fuck all this shit. Let's talk about the tunnel system beneath our feet, the cities beneath our feet. And all the food being transported underneath our feet. This is an artificially created economic plunge or downfall. Artificial. Like magic. Oh no, out of food. People eating so much. Yeah, that's a lot. Just like when people breathe, it messes up the earth. So what the fuck you have the ability to breathe for then? Retards. Meanwhile, as soon as somebody coughs, people walking around outside in summertime, 80-degree weather with a whole mask over their whole face. You gonna take that goddamn shit off and fucking breathe? That's why you them shits. Somebody else walking around 90-degree weather with a goddamn mask on. I'm fucking painting your shit on you. Huh? You know why? It's gonna make you take it off. Duh. Who's gonna sit there and just keep a bunch of stuff on their face after somebody just painted their face? You gotta respond somehow. You're gonna want to say something. So that's gonna help you get the mask off. I helped you out. You welcome. You know what I'm saying? Use a little. It's impossible to see to the Dead Sea. And it's funny too how they like Dead Sea next to them. Of all things they could have named it. Shape shifting UFO? No, that's that smart dust and probably some hologram shit connected to that. That's where a lot of people going. They kidnapping them and taking them underground. Y'all better start looking up underneath your houses and sealed up walls and doorways and shit. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you ain't got no closed off tunnel entrance. Didn't even know it. People finding them in restaurants, hospitals, movie theaters, stores, parks, and so on and so forth. A worshiper, a vessel of war. They hold true to their name. Last time I seen one of these like this for real, I was a little boy. Ain't gonna find no goddamn Jesus. That motherfucker a society. Secret society. But when you watch the human trafficking shit, now the pedophilia shit, Rome was known for that. Homosexuality or porn. They're not the only ones, but yeah. So as part of their heritage, integrating child molestation and shit. That's why it's all in their churches, among their priests, who are supposed to be sworn to a life of abstinence, you know. And then there's some other shit that you can learn about that is really fucking crazy. All right, anyway. Ah, fuck. You see what I'm saying? How are you gonna explain this? We have a bunch of people talking about something they don't know what they're talking about, and then we all look like fools. and sound like it. Instead of focusing on the real things that we need to focus on. Like, how the fuck we about to deal with these motherfuckers? Killing everybody. Fuck a religion. What about coming together against that shit, to oppose that shit? There's some wisdom. But that's just an opinion. I know. A bunch of people talking about marijuana or cannabis. Talking about, oh, it's a drug. Don't realize the body has a whole endocannabinoid system that regulates and fucking controls everything. Problem is, we got a bunch of people overstimulating themselves in their endocannabinoid system, having adverse effects from that. Just high. And you're not actually getting the benefits of the healing properties and the things that are supposed to bind in anandamides, and so on and so forth. So, CBD oil, all that type of stuff, like, I go on and on. But, whatever. Open what? And when you look at their Bible and stuff, church already over there in Africa, motherfuckers. You got people trying to say Jerusalem's in the Sahara, it's in Namibia, it's in Utah, it's fucking above us, coming down, and 19 or 16. This motherfucker looked like the dude on a $10 bill. Leopold II. Abomination. I don't fucking know, man. I'm just being and let the Most High sort all that out, cause it's too many people talking. That's one reason why so many people just let the stuff go. They don't even want to be involved with it. It's like, once you see all this stuff, it's like, dog. It just kind of like throws people through another loop of confusion. Like, what the fuck? You know, everybody trying to be somebody and find something that they belong. You know what I'm saying? They can call home. Dalua, yeah. Dalua. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
War. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 15. 1 then is lust, and lust is want. And want is greed. And 2 the root of greed is a self-centered heart, and 3 unregenerate human heart. For this is the key we need to explain war. And 5 the Bible gives us many clues to why warfare is, and 6 that in reality it can never be stopped. 7 the root of the problem lies with the human 8 heart. And the Bible says that the human heart is so desperately wicked that none can know it. 10 Jeremiah says that the heart is deceitful 11 above all things, who can know it. 12 Paul says in Romans, their carnal mind.
But again, this is coming from motherfuckers who murder and sabotage and rape and fucking barbaric dogs. Worse than animals. They're worse than beasts. This type of shit is coming from them motherfuckers. Because that's how the fuck they think. I don't agree with this shit. Oh, let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go. Pharaoh, let my people. Oh. Let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go.
Mind is 13 enmity against God, for it is not subject to the laws of 14 God neither indeed can be. 15 Jesus was very emphatic that, out of the 16 heart of man put forth all kinds of evil. The problem 17 with mankind is then his evil heart, even because it is 18 self-centered and evil because it does not contain true 19 love. The love within that it does have is hurtful or 20 harmful, manipulative, self-centered and filled with his 21 own desires, according to the Lord. 22 But we obtain other clues as well from the 23 scripture as to the true reasons for war. In 24 particularly, our day and age James says, 25 Go to now ye rich men. Weep and howl for the Iron Mountain Video Presentation 16. 1 Miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are too corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. 3 Your gold and your silver is cankered. The 4 rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall 5 eat your flesh as it were fire. He have heaped together 6 treasure for the last days. He have killed and 7 condemned the just. 8 Now, let's run a little logic. Lust is the 9 center of war. Lust is greed. And greed is from evil, 10 self-centered hearts. The Bible says that 11 The love of money is the root of all evil, or 12 The height of all greeds. Lust then is greed, and the 13 ultimate greed is an insane love of money, which brings 14 with it power, which brings with it control over 15 mankind. Thus, the rich men of the earth earn deed and 16 total control over money. 17 And they have developed a system of economic 18 controls well laid out from the scriptures. If the rich 19 men of the earth gain control over the planet via their 20 Babylonian economic system, then they are the ones who 21 are only powerful enough and rich enough to wage war, 22 and they are the only ones who can develop the war 23 machines that you are looking at on your television 24 screen. They are the ones who can develop the weapons 25 necessary for modern warfare. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 17. One Iron Mountain agrees the very title confirms to the Bible. The title says that it is a report and that 3 it is a desirability and feasibility for peace. It was foreordered by the rich men of the earth, therefore, they 5 themselves must be the ones waging the wars. 6 and now they have elected not to wage wars, but 7 have elected to do something else, because warfare is 8 drawing to a close. It will have soon served its 9 purpose. In other words, it is a deliberate effort to 10 bring in another system, for the first system of war has 11 almost accomplished the goals originally intended. 12 Albert Pike was purported to have written a 13 letter in which he outlines 3 world wars. Each had 14 a specific purpose and each had a goal. The last war, 15 World War III, was to be fought to bring in an era of 16 peace under Lucifer. It was to be fought predominantly 17 between the United States and the Soviet Union, and it
That's your Jesus.
18 would come in an era of seeming peace when it seemed. 19 like everything was fine, everything was great. 20 the Bible says that the Antichrist is a man 21 of peace. He rides a white horse and has no war 22 machine. There are no arrows in his bow. He is to 23 usher in a period of peace after great wars.
So they say.
24 Iron Mountain is about this era of peace. 25 Iron Mountain is a report to aid Antichrist in his rise. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 18. 1 to Power. It is, in reality, a report from hell. 2-3 What can be expected if peace comes? What should we be prepared to do about it? What, for instance, are the real functions of war in modern societies? 5-6 Narrator, Iron Mountain asks, what can be 7 expected if peace comes? What should we be prepared to 8 do about it? What, for instance, are the real functions 9 of war in modern societies? 10 These are very important questions. The 11 Soviet Union says, the peaceful exploration of outer 12 space is the constructive alternative to the plans aimed 13 at spreading the arms race. 14 In other words, we're going to find that the 15 opposite of war is peace which, of course, it is in 16 reality. But what Iron Mountain is getting at is what 17 are the real functions of warfare, the invisible 18 functions of warfare. What role do they play in the 19 overall structure of human society? 20 For example, the Soviet Union has been on a 21 war footing for years and years. We have, to a lesser 22 extent in America, been on a war footing. It's been 23 predominantly a Cold War for many, many years. But 24 nonetheless, it has been as far as the economics of it 25 are concerned, it has been a war era. It's been an age. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 19. 1 of War. And what this report is asking about is what 2 about peace. 3-4 IT is surely no exaggeration to say that conditions of world peace would lead to changes in the 5 social structures of the nations. 6-7 Narrator. It is surely no exaggeration to say 8 the conditions of world peace would lead to changes in 9 the social structures of the nations. 10-11 These changes would be of unparalleled and revolutionary magnitude. 12-13 Narrator. These changes would be of 14 unparalleled and revolutionary magnitude. 15 As we would transition then from an era of war 16 into peace, what would be the problems? 17-18 IT is the incorrect assumption that war as an institution is subordinate to the social system it is 19 believed to serve. 20-21 Narrator. It is an incorrect assumption that 22 war as an institution is subordinate to the social 23 system it is believed to serve. 24 What they're saying here is that nations wage 25 war for reasons other than what they state. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 20. 1-2 War itself is the basic social system, within which others are secondary modes of organization. 3 Conflict or conspire. 4-5 Narrator. War is the basic social system. 6 Within which others are secondary modes of organization. 7 Conflict or conspire. 8 In other words, war itself is the basic social 9 system of mankind. And if we go to peace, we're going tend to have problems unless we understand that. 11-12 IT is the system which has governed most human societies of record, as it is today. 13-14 Narrator. It is the system which has governed 15 most human societies on record today. 16 Well, this is, of course, very true in our day. 17 Age. We have seen nothing but war, starting with 18 predominantly World War I and then coming forward. The 19 Soviet Union has had tremendous expenditures in their 20 military, and the United States has likewise. It's 21 been, in reality, an ages race. We're going to find out. 22 There's a reason for it. 23-24 The capacity of a nation to make war is the greatest social power it can exercise. War making, 25 Active or contemplated, is a matter of life and death. Iron Mountain Video Presentation, 21. 1-2 Narrator. The capacity of a nation to make 3 war is the greatest social power it can exercise. War 4 Making, active or contemplated, is a matter of life and 5 death, says Iron Mountain. 6-7 The misconceptions of war. To defend a nation from military attack by another, or to deter such aid attack. 9-10 Narrator. The misconceptions of war. 1-11 Defend a nation from military attack by another, or to 12 Deter such attack. 13-14 The misconceptions of war. To defend the national interest, economic, political, ideological. 15-16 Narrator. To defend the national interest. 17 Economic, political, or ideological. 18-19 The misconceptions of war. To maintain or increase a nation's military power for its own sake. 20-21 Narrator. To maintain or increase a nation's 22 military power for its own sake. 23-24 These are the visible, ostensible functions of war. But there are other broader, more profoundly 25 felt functions of war. Iron Mountain. 2 Narrator. Now, see, these are the visible or 3 more obvious reasons why a person would say, well, for that's why we have war. But what they're saying is 5 there are more less obvious, very invisible reasons for 6 why nations have war, and this is the heart of the 7 entire Iron Mountain report. 8 Its conclusion was that war is absolutely 9 necessary. It's an absolute requirement for human 10 societies and nations to come together. It is, in 11 reality, they claim, the glue of the nations. 12 The Soviet military machine, or its war-making 13 capacity, is the actual glue that has held the Soviet 14 Union and the Communist Empire together. If they were 15 to move into an era of peace, what would happen? 16-17 IT is these invisible, or implied, functions that are the dominant forces in our societies. What 18 are they? 19-20 Narrator. All right. Iron Mountain says, it. 21 is these implied functions that are the dominant forces. 22 in our society. 23 So what we have to find out then is what are 24 the true functions of war in a society. Why, for 25 example, has the Soviet Union and the United States? Iron Mountain Video Presentation, 23. 1 Both of which are controlled by the rich men of the 2 Earth, been on a constant war footing constantly. 3 Escalating this conflict? Why are they doing it? And 4 What are their reasons behind it? 5 Economic reasons are 6-7 Economic necessary waste. IT operates outside the normal economic supply and demand system. IT 8 creates artificial demand. 9-10 Narrator. It is the necessary waste that 11 operates outside the normal economic supply and demand 12 system. Warfare creates an artificial demand. The War 13 system having huge militaries, with all of their 14 armaments, with all the research and development, 15 creates a demand. 16-17 economic. This waste of money outside the system acts as a counterbalance force to the overall 18 economy. 19-20 narrator. This waste of money outside the 21 system, according to Iron Mountain, acts as a 22 counterbalance to the economic growth of the nation. 23. 24 economic. It is progressively for research and development of weapons systems, spurring 25 technological advances. Iron Mountain video presentation, 24. 1-2 narrator. It is progressively for research 3 and development of weapons systems, and it spurs 4 technological expenses which spin off and help society 5 at large. 6-7 defense spending per SA might be countenanced economic grounds alone as a stimulator of the national 8 metabolism. 9-10 narrator. Defense spending per se might be 11 countenanced economic grounds alone as a stimulator of 12 the national metabolism. 13 in other words, war itself for economic 14 purposes is a tremendous growth factor. 15-16 political. A nation is a group of people organized together with a common goal and a national 17 identity. 18-19 narrator. For the political reasons it's 20 different. A nation is a group of people organized 21 together with a common goal and a national identity. 22-23 political. The nation has an outlook/attitude of how it will deal with other nations. 24 we call it foreign policy. 25. Iron Mountain video presentation, 25. 1 narrator. The nation has an outlook or in 2 attitude of how it will deal with other nations. And 3 that's what we call foreign policy. 4-5. A nation's foreign policy can have no substance if it lacks the means of enforcing its 6 attitude on other nations. 7-8 narrator. A nation's foreign policy, says 9 Iron Mountain, can have no substitute if it lacks the 10 means of enforcing its attitude. 11 in other words, if the nation is not strong 12 enough, it doesn't matter what their attitude towards 13 somebody else is. 14-15 war is itself the defining element of any nation's existence vis-a-vis any other nation. War 16 equals nations. Peace equals no nations. 17-18 narrator. War is itself the defining element 19 of any nation's existence vis-a-vis any other nation. 20 war then equals nations because it is the glue of 21 nations and what causes them to come together. And 22 peace would mean the dissolving of the nations. 23 the elimination of war implies the inevitable elimination of national sovereignty and the traditional 24 nation state. 25. Iron Mountain video presentation, 26. 1 narrator. The elimination of war implies the 2 elimination of national sovereignty and the traditional 3 nation state. For please understand the importance of that 5 remark in Iron Mountain. It is the elimination of war 6 that brings us to world government. 7-8 The war system not only has been essential to the existence of nations as independent political 9 entities, but has been equally indispensable to their stable internal political structure. 10-11 narrator. The war system not only has been 12 essential to the existence of nations as independent 13 political entities, but has been equally indispensable 14 to their stable internal development. 15-16 Without it, the war system, no government has ever been able to obtain acquiescence in its 17 legitimacy, or right to rule its society. 18-19 narrator. Without it, the war system, no 20 government has ever been able to obtain its legitimacy. 21 In other words, we could say its right to rule. 22 Its society. War is the basis of that claim to rule. 23 And it is, therefore, the glue that holds a nation 24 together, according to Iron Mountain. 25. Iron Mountain video presentation, 27. 1 The possibility of war provides the sense of external necessity without which no government can 2 remain in power. 3-4 narrator. The possibility of war
What right is right, you have to justify your right.
I'll deal with him in a minute.
War provides the 5 cents of external necessity without which no government 6 can remain in power. 7-8 The organization of a society for the possibility of war is its principal political 9 stabilizer. 10-11 Narrator The organization of a society for 12 the possibility of war is its principal political 13 stabilizer. 14 All right. In other words, for the Soviet 15 Union, they said that the American people were the 16 enemy. And that gave them the glue which held the 17 Soviet Empire together, which rallied the people to make 18 such sacrifices so that we could build up this huge War 19 machine. 2021 The basic authority of the modern state over its people resides in its war powers. 22, 23, 24, 25. Iron Mountain Video Presentation, 28. 1 Narrator The basic authority of the modern two-state over its people resides in its war powers. Now, 3 That's another very important statement. For 5 Therefore, a substitute for the war system must be found in order to control the people and provide 6 Stability and legitimacy of government. 7-8 Narrator Therefore, a substitute for the War 9 system must be found in order to control the people, and 10 provide stability and legitimacy of government, if we go 11 into an era of peace. 12 Now, we know that the United Nations is to be 13 that era of peace. So, therefore, what they are saying 14 is we have to find substitutes for what war does, the 15 invisible functions of war. We have to find the 16 substitute for that if we are going to go to peace. 17-18 Obviously, if the war machine is discarded, new political machinery would be needed at once. 19-20 Narrator Obviously, if the war machine is 21 discarded, new political machinery would be needed at 22 once. 23 In other words, as they phase war out, they 24 have to phase whatever they're going to put in its place 25 in to control the people, to control the nation. This. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 29. 1 is an essential part of Iron Mountain. 2, 3 until it, the substitute for war, is developed, the continuance of the war system must be assured to maintain the stability of its internal organization of power. 5, 6 narrator, until it, the substitute for war, 7 is developed, the continuance of the war system must be assured to maintain the stability of its internal 9 organization of power. In other words, we have to keep 10 the war system going in order to remain in control. 11-12 interpretation. Keep war until all substitutes are in place and running, so we don't lose 13 our rulership. 14-15 narrator. Keep war until all substitutes are 16 in place and running, so we don't lose our rulership. 17 in other words, those that are in power are 18 going to remain in power. They've got to figure out a 19 way to do that, so they're going to de-escalate the war 20 system as they bring in a peace system. And the peace 21 system is going to radically alter our societies. 22-23 What substitutes for war are there? Iron Mountain offered several substitutes. 24-25 narrator. What substitutes for war are there? Iron Mountain Video Presentation 30. 1. IT must be a universal threat of equal magnitude as that of World War. 2. 3 narrator. Well, it has to be a universal 4 threat of equal magnitude as that of World War. The 5 immediate loss of life and the immediate thought that 6 blood is going to be shed. 7-8 IT must be credible. IT must be accepted by the vast majority of the population. 9-10 narrator. It has to be credible, and it must 11 be accepted by the vast majority of the population of 12 any given nation or, in reality, the whole world if 13 they're going to bring in global peace. 14-15 credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for 16 war. 17-18 narrator, credibility, in fact, says Iron 19 Mountain, lies at the heart of the problem of developing 20 a political substitute for war. 21-22 We must emphasize that one must be found, of credible quality and magnitude, if a transition to peace. 23 is ever to come about without social disintegration. 24-25 narrator, we must emphasize that one must be. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 31. 1 found, of credible quality and magnitude, if a 2 transition to peace is ever to come about without social 3 disintegration. 4 in other words, really what they're saying is 5 a nation would self-destruct without an external threat 6 of some type. 7-8 IT is more probable, in our judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented, rather than 9 developed from some unknown conditions. 10-11 narrator, it is more probable, in our 12 judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented, 13 rather than developed from some unknown conditions. 14 that means exactly what it says. They're going to 15 invent a system to accomplish this. 16 ecology, pollution. 17-18, an effective political substitute for war would require alternate enemies. 19-20 narrator, an effective political substitute, 21 for war would require alternate enemies. In other 22 words, we have to find an external threat that's 23 essentially very large. 24-25. Iron Mountain Video Presentation 32. 1 IT may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the 2 possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal threat to the survival of the species. 3-4 narrator, it may be, for instance, that gross 5 pollution of the environment can eventually replace the 6 possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as 7 the principal threat to the survival of the species. 8 in other words, they're going to bring the 9 environment up to a point of global threat. Poisoning 10 of the air and other principal sources of the food and 11 water supply is already well advanced. And at first 12 glance, which seem promising in this respect, it 13 constitutes a threat that can be dealt with only through 14 a social organization and political power. 1516, but from present indications it will be a generation to a generation and a half before. 17. Environmental pollution will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a solution. 1819 narrator, but from present indications at 20 will be a generation to a generation and a half before. 21. Environmental pollution will be sufficiently menacing on 22 a global scale to offer a solution as a substitute for 23 war. 24. In other words, we replace the war threat with 25 an environmental threat. Now you know why. The Iron Mountain video presentation 33. 1. Environment is on the TVs and the media constantly. 2. 3 generation equals 30 years. 1961 plus 30 is equal to 1991. 4. 5 narrator, a generation is about 30 years, so 6 it would be about 1991 that this would be brought up to 7 global scale. It is true that the rate of pollution 8 could be increased selectively for this purpose. In 9 other words, you could selectively find areas where you 10 could deliberately increase the pollution to get this 11 threat in motion a little quicker. 1213 it is true that the rate of pollution could be increased selectively for this purpose. 1415 narrator, it is true that the rate of 16 pollution can be increased selectively. 1718 in fact, the mere modifying of existing programs for the deterrence of pollution could speed up 19 the process enough to make the threat credible much sooner. 2021 narrator, in fact, the mere modifying of 22 existing programs for the deterrence of pollution could 23 speed up the process enough to make the threat credible 24 much sooner. 25 in other words, let's have the governments. Iron Mountain video presentation 34. 1. Drag their feet on pollution controls or the enforcement 2 of pollution controls. And around the world, that's 3 exactly what we are seeing.